Hey there, and welcome to another Tesla Motors Club podcast. My name is Lewis.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Doug.
On today's episode, we'll be covering new information that's come out about Tesla's infamous 2016 full self-driving video. GM announces how much money they're investing in new technology, the amounts may surprise you, and more. Episode 33 starts now.
Well,
How are you gentlemen doing today?
excellent as always.
Excellent.
I've had a mixed week.
You've had a rough week. We'll be getting into that later in the show.
Yeah, that's right.
There's going to be some interesting personal anecdotes about Doug's experience in a hit and run. Oh man!
So on the plus side, I got FSD beta back. Thank you.
Yay!
Yay! No longer suspended.
Gods. And on the minus side, on the same day before I even got a chance to try it out, somebody did a hit and run on my parked car.
Ooh.
On the good news, by the time you do get to try it out, you might be upgraded to version 11, which we're all waiting for anxiously.
I tried it out already.
Spoilers. No. Alrighty. So on the topic of autopilot, Doug, there's some news, some drama in the land of Tesla, autopilot, FSD, whatever you want to call it.
And
Why don't you hit us with the high level?
Since Doug's our local historian of Tesla lore and knowledge.
That's true.
Yeah.
Goes back.
Well, so back in 2016, Tesla released this video here of demonstrating, what could be done with autopilot and getting everybody excited about full self-driving. By that point, people have been excited about it, and we've been talking about it for a couple of years. And in 2014, we did a conference and had an engineer from Tesla talking about autopilot. And back then, everyone, like, phantom braking was really bad, so that's what everybody was asking questions about. But you look at this video, and it's very hopeful. It's like, wow, this is great, and if you look at the very beginning, there's this whole statement here. Is like, the person in the driver's seat is only there for legal reasons. He's not doing anything. The car is driving itself. So we're all really excited back then, and of course, Elon in a TED conversation, said that, the car would be driving, from New York to LA on its own with no interventions. And of course, that didn't quite happen. But this video showed us what could happen, what was possible. And, we all had the impression was it really just worked on its own. But, in recent months, we had some questionable things come out about that video. There was the New York Times did a sort of a documentary. I forget exactly when that was. I guess that was in the springtime. And we had the sense that, okay, maybe it was a little bit misleading, maybe a little bit oversold. And then recently, in what came out in testimony from a former Tesla engineer for a wrongful death suit for this guy, this Apple engineer that died in a Model X back in 2018. And in that lawsuit, in his testimony, in the former engineer's testimony, he said that it was even worse than we thought, in terms of how that whole route was practiced. They had 3D mapping. They did everything they could to get it work, and so that guy there was actually needed, and like the car on its own crashed into a fence and other things. So you have to wonder, how honest was that video, and what the. I mean, I'm not sure how you guys feel about it.
Well, there's been rumors about this video for quite a while now, but nothing that ever had been substantiated until this engineer kind of testified.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of, it's one of those examples where when I look at a video like this, I expect that they're maybe not blatantly lying and like faking it, but it's like, yeah, they tried it 50 times and this is the one that looked the best. You know what I mean? Or that kind of a scenario. But
That-
I think what was misleading is, like you said, that opening, that claim that, a person's not necessary. They're just there because of legal stuff, because this isn't technically a level 5 system. And that's a bunch of nonsense.
yeah.
Well, giggle when I watch it because my car can't make it out of my neighborhood without an intervention. So
Yeah. I mean,
it's
it-
never so.
yeah, the video, I mean, not that there's a direct comparison, but it makes me think a little bit about the Nicola video and the statements of Trevor, I forgot his last name, but the guy that is now I guess he's been convicted of fraud. He talked about how
Trevor
like,
Milton, by the way.
Trevor Milton. Yeah, he talked about how this, like when they did their event showing off that unveiling that semi, they're like, oh, this isn't a pusher. He kept saying this is a working vehicle, and we got to make sure that be careful when people come in to sit down that they don't drive off with it, which was definitely a lie. That was a direct lie. And then they did a video to demonstrate it, and what they did, they towed it up a hill and then let it roll down a hill and have a sense that it's driving under its own power, right? So that was blatant lie, right? So the guy is just there for legal reasons. That doesn't feel honest to me. So is that a lie? Is that just stretching?
He probably was there for legal reasons, but also to
okay,
yeah.
So. But he said he's not doing anything. He's just there for legal reasons. But I believe, from my understanding, that the car couldn't stop on its own, so he had to stop it. Like, we're not seeing. Can we see his feet at all in this video? We see his hands. And the sort of
the feet are in the dark. You don't see the feet really.
Yeah.
You can see his knee.
Yeah.
I think the interesting thing, right? So the engineer's testimony, he said that the autopilot team was asked by Elon. The request was to record a demonstration of the system's capabilities. And when the video came out, Elon tweeted, he said that Tesla drives itself, no human input at all, through urban streets to highways to streets, to then finds a parking spot. So that was what Elon tweeted at the time around this. But the engineer himself quoted and said, the intent of the video was not to accurately portray what was available for customers in 2016. It was to portray what was possible to build into the systems. So,
and that seems to me that should have been in that intro. This is what will be possible. And
disclaimer.
And I think everybody would have been great. I mean, we all bought into the dream, and saying that this is what should be possible would be good enough. And like, this is pretty, impressive, watching it drive around and find a place to park or whatever. And you have to wonder when they edit away and they show, like, here's the side camera or whatever, like, did something happen there that they don't want to show the driver at that point?
Yeah.
There was a driver in the car when that pedestrian crossed, right?
Maybe
they show the front camera, so you can't tell. Yeah. I used to work for, so I've seen this stuff in tech companies a lot, where people stretch the truth. You have to be careful of how far you stretch it, right? That's where you get into like Elizabeth Holmes Theranos drama. But like, I had an executive that used to always say, the art of the possible. They used to always talk to customers and try to sell the product as what could happen or what could exist. The problem was they would talk to customers, but not as if it didn't already exist, right? They would say, like, this is what our product does today. And to placate the engineers, they would go, well, the art of the possible, right? Like, it could in the future do that. And I definitely feel like Tesla has a lot of that, right?
Yeah.
Tesla definitely.
It's not just cars, Liz. I mean, I spent years in aerospace, and our live fire demos were always that. It was, it kind of sort of works, but imagine what it can do.
Right.
I've always said about Elon that Elon lies, but he lies in a very special way, in that he talks about things that are as if they're true now, but eventually they do become true, and they have for the most part. I mean, the guy has definitely delivered quite a bit, and I think back to because it came up earlier today, the Model S unveiling, and the way they talked about, this is the Model S, this is the production car, and it drives, and it turned out to be a reskinned Mercedes with a Tesla Roadster drivetrain in it. And did that really matter? It certainly sold a lot of people more, thinking, oh, this is a car that drives. This is a real car.
Yeah, real live car. Yeah.
When it was nowhere near the real car yet. And we didn't get they call them betas, actually, the beta versions of the cars. We didn't get a test ride in those until like 2010. So I mean, they made progress. They're doing it. And the mantra in tech, I mean, you mentioned Theranos, is like, fake it till you make it. And that you have the line between actually making it and fraud, right? I don't think it's fraud here.
Right.
They have a real product. They have still the best, in my opinion, the best EV, maybe the best cars on the road. I'm definitely very happy with my car, even with the general shortcomings of like body panel alignment and stuff like that. I'm still happy with my car.
And to be clear, it's been 6 years since that video came out. A little over 6 years. My car can almost do everything in that video. The parking lot part, okay, it doesn't do the self park and all that kind of stuff. But the vast majority of the rest of it actually does do that now. It can do that most of the time. I don't want to say it's always, like, I wouldn't trust it to just do it every day all the time, or to like not be paying attention. But it does actually, it can, from my driveway go out, the street, from that street to going to some destination throughout the city, right? I can drive across the other side of the city with highways and side streets and all that. It'll do it. And not
you're right.
crash into anybody. It'll stop if a person comes out. Like, all those things do actually function now.
Yeah, I've had mine on the freeway, change lanes, get off the freeway, make the right turn at the bottom, stop for the lights. When it works, it works well. But when it goes badly, it's really
agreed.
Bad.
And
agreed.
I had been without FSD beta for I guess about a month or so.
Withdrawals.
After like the first week, I was like, okay, whatever, because I still had it on the highway, and that's where it really mattered. And it was always iffy on normal streets. And I got it back, and I tried it out the other day for a relatively short drive, and it was kind of terrible. I mean, try to go straight in right turn only lanes, and doing this left turn, across traffic kind of thing. It just was not. So I couldn't trust it there. So, I do appreciate it when it works, and the main thing I like about it is that I don't have to worry about my directions so much. So I'm like, oh, it's trying to make a left turn here, so I guess I need to make a left turn. So it's just that's one piece I can kind of switch off, is like, okay, when do I have a turn coming up?
Sure.
So that's its benefit now. I would like it to get better, and hope it does get better. And yeah, it's been 6 years since that video. But there are two sides of that. Okay, it's been 6 years and it's still not exactly.
Still can't do that video.
Especially the parking part. I mean, that was
Parking.
great.
Yes.
Yeah. And again, my summon. How about the parking part they call reverse summon? My normal summon, hasn't worked for months, and as far as I know, they're not going to do anything about it. And I feel like this is a feature I paid for, and it's a known firmware bug. We'll fix it.
Well, on that note about how happy you are with your car, what do you think of the competition that's just been raised with Mercedes getting their level 3 certification, where at least in Germany it's certified, and here in the States you can go to Nevada and you can get level 3 under 37 miles an hour, hands-free. Mercedes owns liability.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a big step forward
that's
for
the part.
Mercedes.
Mercedes will be liable. I don't even understand it, given it's a level 3 system. It seems easy to abuse, maybe. But that's the way all these things should be. Like, that was the open question. Like, what do we do about liability? Well, the companies that do the system, they should take liability, and that should be the way
Tesla's always pushed it back to the driver, saying, well, it's on the driver.
I mean, clearly the Tesla system right now should be on the driver, because the driver needs to make sure it doesn't do something nutty, even if it seems great 95% of the time. There's that 5% of the time, it's probably more than that, that it does something dumb,
weird.
Not just that it misses something, it actually does something that it shouldn't do. But ultimately, when we get to real level 4, level 5, the manufacturer will have to take liability. And Tesla's in the great position to be able to do that, because they already have an insurance product. And
they do. Talk about vertical market, man.
Yeah, so they own the whole thing, and they should really know what the real liability is, right? Because they're able to collect all that data. Then eventually they'll probably do it.
They've got access to data that nobody else does for car insurance. I mean, it's pretty astounding the amount of data they get.
Yeah, I mean, that was the whole point or one of the points of the safety score. And my car is I have Tesla insurance, and it's registered in California. I keep seeing this message whenever I go to the safety score that it says in California they're not able to. Maybe it's a legal issue. They're not able to use it to affect my rates. But and I would kind of hate that, because I think right now the safety score is not. I mean, they should know how close it is or how much it's indicative of actual accidents.
I would take a hit, because they penalize you for driving after 10 at night.
Yeah, but
that's kind of a rotten thing to do.
It makes sense if that's when accidents happen, right? So if you're doing that, and
some of us don't have a choice.
Well, but that's
I mean, that's the statistics, though.
Some of us, not me, but some of us have teenagers that drive, and and so it's just about it's not personal. It's I got a good student discount when I had Geico back in the day. So insurance is insurance. If they have some correlation that shows them that this person is a lower risk or costs them less money, then I appreciate them passing that savings on to me. That's one way to look at it.
True. Sometimes it's completely nuts, though. Like, I remember in my, I guess it was probably towards my late 20s, my father stayed with me for about a year, and so I added him to my insurance, and my rates dropped. It's like,
because he's a mature driver.
He's in his 70s, though. He can't even drive. Like, he shouldn't even be driving. You know what I mean? I shouldn't say he can't. He
Very
can
mature driver.
But like, he wasn't going to be driving the cars. I added him because he had his own car. So adding his car plus him dropped my rates for all of my cars. And it was like, this is bizarre, but
Thanks,
whatever. Yeah, I know, exactly. So they do weird things. But yeah, I mean, so to get back to Mike's point. So for those that aren't familiar, so Mercedes, their FSD version of their product is called Drive Pilot. Yep. So Drive Pilot is their version. It uses all the bells and whistles. It's got LiDAR.
It's got
ultrasonics.
It's got cameras. It's got all of it.
Cameras. And so in Germany, they are certified as a level 3 system, but it's primarily for slower speeds. So I'm not sure if the level 3 covers at high speed or just low speeds. But technically under 60 kilometers an hour, which is about 37 miles per hour for those of us in the US, you are not required to pay attention to the road if you're going slower than that.
Hands off, read a book.
So you're hands off, and you don't even have to watch the road with your eyes if you're going under 37 miles an hour with Drive Pilot enabled in Germany. And if the car does have an accident, Mercedes is taking liability. They're claiming they're going to take liability, which is not normally true for level 3 systems. Normally, I believe that's reserved more for level 4 systems or higher. But anyway, so Mercedes is doing that as a sales thing or as a marketing thing. And they just got approval in Nevada?
Nevada.
Nevada. Sorry. My
Nevada?
wife always corrects me
Nevada.
on it as well because she's from closer to that part of the country. She lived there for a while. I'm from the East Coast, so to me it's Nevada.
Nevada, whatever.
Whatever.
But whatever. So no offense to the
Nevadans.
Nevidians,
whatever.
there you go.
But yeah, so they're now approved there, and they've requested approval in California as well.
Well, but that's great, California. Our freeway speed's only like 25 miles an hour on an average.
Well, it's interesting. So, what will it wake you up when it starts speeding up? Like the idea of like, okay, can I just take a nap and stop?
I'm telling you, I mean, for a morning commute where you're just slogging through traffic, that'd be awesome if you could hands free it.
Sometimes unexpected stuff happens though. Like someone decides to cut into you real quick or whatever.
Mercedes says they own it. So,
and it depends what it's doing. Like, is it changing lanes? Will it change if like this lane's stuck and this lane's moving? Will it change lanes like navigate on autopilot? But navigate on autopilot needs a confirmation.
I was going to say FSD has issues with that. At least for me, it was never quite aggressive enough on the lane changing because it used to miss off ramps.
Yeah. It'll miss exits
often.
Yeah,
it's a mixed bag. I've had it, going way too early, so now I'm stuck in the slow lane for a while before I'm getting off, and then I've had it miss things too. So it's I guess it's in the middle now.
Maybe I wonder if I can run a Mercedes and play with that. That'd be a lot of fun.
I'm sure you can.
I think it'd be neat. So if you're asleep, then
Turo. Yeah.
Is it gonna wake you up once it speeds up? It's gonna like, hey, you got to pay attention now.
That's right.
We're going 40 miles an hour.
Shock your seat.
We'll have to dig into that. Well, one of us will rent one or something. We'll have to dig in, and then we can give detail. I do have to say though, I actually experienced a nasty phantom brake yesterday in the car. It's
really?
The first phantom braking incident I've had in months that I can remember. And it wasn't one of those I'm emergency braking to nothing. It was one of those I'm on a highway, the speed limit is 75, and the car suddenly decides the speed limit is 55.
Ooh.
So it just I'm gonna decelerate pretty quickly now because I'm going way too fast. And so it was set to 80 or 85, whatever, something up there as for FSD. And it was driving along, and I'm on a highway in Austin, not that far from Tesla's, Gigafactory in Austin. I'm sure it's a road that Elon has personally driven on many times. Probably. And it all of a sudden it was just like speed limit's 55, and I'm like, what? There's no speed limit sign or anything. It just randomly decided that. Slowed down really fast. The guy behind me got pissed off because he was also going 80. And my wife was like, what? And I was just like, oh man, sorry, that was the car. And I hit the gas real quick to take over to get it to go. And what I was watching it was kind of annoying. I went through 2 more speed limit signs that said 75. It did not register them. It literally just kept saying it was at 55 for several miles, even though we went past speed limit signs that said 75. And then it finally realized, oh, it's 75 again, further down the road. I'm guessing it might have been there was a construction zone there. There was no construction at the time, or no construction zone at all. But I know that there had been in recent months. So I'm wondering if their map or something, their map data was outdated, and it just decided, oh, it's 55 here, and it just slammed on the, I don't know that it hit the brakes, but it full regen stopped to get the speed down. So it was pretty jerky.
Maybe that's what it was, because I've had it do that where there's a truck speed limit, 55 or 45, right, and everyone else can go, whatever.
Or trailer limit,
right. And it'll see that, and it doesn't know, and it'll start slowing down. But I've never had it
it was pretty aggressive.
But the fact that you were going 85, probably the
in a 75 posted limit.
But that's probably at that rate, the lift, the throttle,
the deceleration,
is
correct,
probably pretty high. So
right.
I've had it be, slow down, and you're like, oh, okay, what's this about? I've had it slow down where it's confused with the mapping, and it tries to do an exit that's not there or something. That's really weird. And it'll sort of just slowing down, and it's confused, what's going on.
Now, it's funny you bring up the regen, because I know when I had the beta for the 2 months, The one thing I noticed pretty quickly is the car behaved a lot better on the freeway when I had regen set to low. If I turned the regen way down and drove it that way with the beta, the whole freeway experience was a lot smoother.
Right.
Yeah, and actually, it's more efficient on the highway with less.
I've heard that. I didn't see much of that, but I've heard it.
Yeah, because that round trip into the battery and out of the battery, going from chemical potential to kinetic energy, as much as you can reduce those thermodynamic transitions, the more
You're
efficient.
still lost.
Geek alert! Geek alert!
Okay. I thought I was talking everybody's language here.
I mean, hey man, I was a physics major too. I'm right there with you.
I'm thinking of our audience, yeah.
So Mike in our audience, our listener, made a comment. He said it's supposed to read the speed limit in real time, and I agree. I've seen it do that before.
I've seen it miss it too.
But this was a circumstance where it missed, and it actually missed 2 of the signs. And when it finally realized it was the right speed limit, there wasn't even a sign. Because I like intentionally was like, I'm going to pay attention now to see if the system like figures it out or what's going on. But anyway, so unfortunately, had experienced this yesterday, but everything worked out in the end.
Better. It really
it's usually better.
But in general, it needs to be better about actually reading signs. Because I've had it where, this is actually a route marker. Like the route is 80 and it's trying to go.
Oh, it's trying to think it's a speed limit?
Yeah. It's not a speed limit. And also, for trucks, it needs to be able to read that for trucks. Yeah. And in the same level, right turn on red, no right turn on red, and it's trying to turn right on red, that kind of stuff, or being in the wrong lane. And so I wonder if any of that has to do with the resolution of the cameras and if it's
hardware,
blame it on the camera.
Hardware 4 is right around the corner.
That's right.
Yeah.
We'll have more news about that soon, I'm sure.
If only we had LiDAR. If only we had radar. If only.
Hey, hardware 4 might be coming with your radar, Mike.
Radar and LiDAR are not going to help you read those signs.
That's my point.
What are you talking about? They're not 3-dimensional?
Well, maybe that they got the little highlighters around it.
Yeah. So moving on to another topic that I found incredibly interesting. Is this news coming out from GM, which is crazy. Oh man. So
yeah, but that's GM being GM.
GM announced this thing of like, look at all the money we're going to spend in innovation and technology. Like, aren't you proud of us? It's almost, it's almost $1 billion. It's, spend all this money. And when you look at the details of how it splits out, it's like they're literally spending $854 million on a new V8 engine development. That's right. And a whopping $64 million on EVs.
A whole 64.
What the hell is that?
But you got to understand that we can increase the efficiency of our V8 engine, and we need to do a lot of work to increase the efficiency of that V8 engine just a little bit. So who needs EVs, right?
Yeah. I mean, okay, now you sound like Wyoming.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, is what it is. I mean, easily the EV is 3 times as efficient. Say, okay, why spend all this time on that? Why?
Yeah, it's like the whole the famous quote from Wayne Gretzky. Everyone likes to say, "Skate to where the puck is going, not where it is."
Yeah, exactly.
R&D and investments into these facilities, it takes years to see returns on that. Why would you spend that much money on the technology that's going away?
Well,
right? Like,
I would look at it as
mind blowing.
They're going with what they know and who do they have? Like, these are the kinds of people that they have, the kinds of engineers that they have, right? Okay, here's a new project for you guys, for the engine folks. I mean, I just imagine the sort of lobbying that happens within the company to do that sort of stuff, and maybe from outside the company, maybe the oil people that I'm sure invest in.
The unions, you got they want to keep their people employed.
Yeah,
which I can't fault them for that, but dude, time to change careers. Train them up.
Yeah, what did they say? Learn to code. Is that the same? That's
don't do it
now.
It's Tesla. It's not a bad idea.
Learn to code. Go work at Twitter. No.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah.
You had to go there, didn't you?
But I guess, so what do you expect from GM? Only the company that released the EV1 and, could have been pioneers and were
Toyota's not
pioneers
any
in electric
better.
vehicles.
I mean, Toyota has yet to embrace the EV market like most other companies. They're still.
Well, they have electric cars you don't even have to plug in. That was the marketing.
That's right.
The Prius when after all the EVs were crushed or recalled and no more EV1 when the Toyota Prius and their hybrids came out. It's like the electric car you don't have to plug in. So it's great. So all that, I mean, of course it's more efficient, but all that energy.
So I'm going to have my 10-mile range battery with my hydrogen fuel engine. Got it.
Oh no, they're just, they got a gas tank. You put gas in the tank, it turns into electricity, right? That's their argument.
I thought it was Honda that was pushing hydrogen so heavily there for a while.
They all were. I mean, Honda had the Clarity, which was probably the first sort of mainstream car. I'm sure the hydrogen folks got really pissed off when they finally did a Clarity EV though. Because a hydrogen car is an EV, right? Its propulsion is electric, right? It's just the storage is ridiculous with hydrogen. So that's what it is.
It's not ridiculous. It's just not very feasible for putting into a car.
If you do the math, it's pretty ridiculous for especially for a passenger vehicle. You might be able to make arguments for semi trucks, but I've yet to see a convincing one. And they tried to do it for trains also, right? Like, oh, let's do hydrogen trains. I'm like, dude, you have a train. Just you where it is. It's just run.
There's literally metal that it has to run against.
It's a fixed path. You know where it's going to be.
And you could do a battery bank on trains for parts that aren't electrified or whatever. So anyway, that always made more sense. But there's a whole industry of basically it's a fossil fuel industry trying to cling on to future profits
Yeah, there was a really good video I saw not that long ago from Sabina. She's a physicist or whatever that does YouTube videos, and basically the argument was mostly it's coming out of fossil fuel industry because where do you get the hydrogen from? They mostly get it from methane, and so it's all these natural gas and methane production companies that are like, yeah, it's clean energy.
Hydrogen's great.
Yeah, look how clean the energy is. And it's like, if you actually look at the math, though, it's not better for the environment in a lot of cases.
It's the steam reformation of methane, which they get on top of the oil when they drill for it. And okay, you can get it from green sources, right? They have their their blue hydrogen and their green hydrogen, right?
Yeah.
But the green hydrogen, the part where you get it from renewables, is the most clear example of, wow, this is the worst way to go.
Yeah, inefficient.
Because it's so inefficient compared to just taking that electricity and putting it in a battery.
Yeah.
So
anyway,
it's rough.
So Elon was right on that front. He was pretty anti-hydrogen and pushed EVs in the early days. And
the math is pretty clear.
The math is clear. He is right.
And for years I did that. When it was more of a push, I would redo that calculation every couple of years to see if there are any real changes, and there weren't. And the batteries just got better. And always the hydrogen industry would always talk about hydrogen, and it was a funny. They'd make those comparisons between. They actually changed the name. They used to be called fuel cell vehicles. Now they would call them fuel cell EVs. They sort of changed it to try to since EVs started to get some traction. But they would always compare the hydrogen vehicle of the future to the EV of today or the EV of yesterday. So it was never a fair comparison. Like EVs can only do this, but hydrogen will be able to do that. I'm like, well, where is it now? And when they finally made it like real deliveries, it was just not even to mention
underwhelming.
Yeah, exactly. Not even to mention the infrastructure. It's like, come on.
So bringing it back though, so this all comes back to GM investing way too much money in a bad technology choice.
Well, it's not. It's not bad. It's just obsolete.
Well, an obsolete technology. And hopefully somebody figures this out before all
And-
that money goes to waste, but I don't see that happening.
The people that that try to be, it always feels disingenuous to me, but they try to appear diplomatic about it and say, well, we need a variety of solutions. Climate change is real, and we need a variety of solutions to attack this problem. And we need more efficient gas cars, and we need hybrids, and we need hydrogen, and battery EVs as well. But for passenger vehicles, I think the answer is abundantly clear, and the other paths have been tried, and I don't think it makes a lot of sense to invest in what's clearly a dead end there.
Right. Exactly. Alrighty. So anyway, that's kind of sums up the GM thing. I mean,
Yeah,
we
what the
beat
heck, guys?
that fuel cell to death.
Yeah, we went on some tangents there, but but GM, I don't know what you're thinking. Whatever. Good job. I'm sure the executives are going to make a fortune despite.
Oh yeah,
making
let's slap
such a
themselves in the
terrible
back all the way
decision.
to the bank.
So moving on, Doug, you had a really interesting experience this week. You spoke a little bit about it, but let's get into the details here, because this is like one of my nightmares, right? Like I look at it and go, I spent how much money on my car? I love my car. It's so nice. As soon as it gets into an accident, it's never the same again. You're replacing something, they're fixing something. Sometimes it's fine, sometimes it's not fine, depends how bad it is. But the idea that you didn't even do anything wrong, you weren't even in your car. Some other jerk did this.
Yeah,
fill us in. What happened?
It's rough. I park in a sort of a short driveway, and the nose faces out to the road, and it's close, but it doesn't stick out. I mean, it's within the gutter line, but it's a relatively short driveway, and I back in because I plugged the car in with the charger I recently installed, right? But yeah, it was last Thursday. Here's my video from Sentry Mode, and it was wet and rainy all day. And here we see earlier in the day. So this is let's see, is this playing? I can't see the play button.
It's not playing. There you go.
All right, here we go. So yeah, 4:52 p.m. This guy, I can't tell what the car is. I think it might be a Subaru WRX. If anybody
Well, it looks like
it.
Tell me better. I have it here again in slow motion so we can see it better. But a car kind of pulls in. There's a park, like a pedestrian entrance to a park. And so this is a dead end road. And that guy I think I've seen him there before, just sort of parking. So he's there about an hour, like 50 minutes. Then here he is backing up to leave. And he kind of backs up. And then if you see here, he comes in and bop, you see the whole camera moves. So he hit my front end, and I heard a crunch. I actually was putting boxes in my car because I was about to go to UPS to return some stuff. Here I am. I got boxes. I'm like, hey, you hit my car. And I didn't expect the guy to just drive off. And and if you look, like, you can sort of see, like, around here, you see, like, he just bugged out. And if I didn't have boxes in my hand, because I was about to go return some stuff to UPS, I would have tried to take some video or something, like, with my phone. But it didn't occur to me that the guy would flee the scene. I get like, oh, you accidentally hit somebody and you're like, oh, I hope that wasn't anything. And then you just, like, take off. I don't condone it, but I understand it, I guess. But, the other party is there and they've witnessed it. And I'm like, yo, you just hit my car. And then the reaction is to
run away,
bug out. I mean, what the heck, man? So yeah, obviously I called the cops and got a report, and at that time I only found this video, so it's really hard to tell what kind of car it was there. And for moments, it's just funny. I'm walking out, I look like an idiot. I'm like, hey, you see my car? I'm like looking at it. What the heck, dude?
And I'm Doug.
I'm Doug. So yeah. It is what it is. You know, for a few moments you can sort of see the license plate, but you know, the resolution is not good enough, and of course the windshield is wet and it's all distorted, and I can't really see it. And I don't know. This is my other plea to like, I wish there was audio, for example, like, because you could hear me yelling like an idiot, "Hey, it's my car!" And also the car had this sort of fart can exhaust, probably modified, and it just sounded ridiculous. And he drives off, and I could hear him for the next 30 seconds, as he's trying to, escape the neighborhood and flee the scene. There's no direct way to the highway from that direction. It's like a lot of dead ends, so he had to loop around some way and avoid going on my road again. So yeah, actually the damage doesn't seem that bad. My car has a color change wrap, and then on the front, on top of the wrap, is PPF. So the PPF got kind of scuffed up. I got his paint kind of transferred onto the PPF. There are a couple spots where it's sort of scratched. I can't quite tell if it's going through yet. I'll have to, gotcha. I'll probably start by going to 3M or something and have them take a look at it. And
so it's like, if it's total.
I was not totaled. I didn't.
I'm just teasing.
Yeah, you should post on Reddit. Is my car totaled?
I mean, it could be a lot worse. And thankfully I have the PPF there. As far as I can tell, like the front end is plastic. It kind of deforms a bit, right? And comes back. I don't sense any cracks or anything in it, but I don't really know. It is under a couple layers of film. So
fortunate you had that.
Yeah, it's really fortunate I had that, but yeah, it's hard to know what's going on underneath it. And of course, the film itself has value, right? I mean, that's an expensive job, and I don't even know if Tesla insurance will cover that. I don't know if
there's no way to take off the paint protection without taking off the wrap at the same time. Isn't that true?
I'm not sure. I'll have to talk to the professionals because they seem to have a way. Like the car the whole car has the color change wrap, and then they're in a few strategic locations. I forget what they call it, like the protection, whatever. It's not full coverage, because that would be.
It's for the high impact, gravel zones. And
it's the nose, it's the hood, it's the mirrors, the side, and then some spots in the back, the trim of the door. Little things like that. I had them do the door handle, since that's a high touch area. So stuff like that.
And to be clear, you did not get the license plate, right? You said it's not in the video, but you were out there, so you also don't know what it is.
So if I had been recording video, like the guy backed up, I don't think he had a plate on the front, and maybe that was on purpose. He didn't turn around, he just backed up down the road and then zoomed out. That his reaction to me saying "Hey" was to bug out. So I don't have the plate. The video does kind of see it, and I don't know. There may be a way to stack frames and average out noise to try to get it, but I can't see it, at least in the raw video. And this is another plea for me to, like, gee, if we had a nice fisheye lens on the nose, that
4K camera,
that would have gotten it. Yeah, higher resolution cameras. I mean, the dash cam feature was a software hack, really, and it's great. We have those cameras, why not use them? Okay, and it's got this, it's not true color. Because it wasn't really intended for human eyes, but now it's being used for that. I would hope that part of hardware 4 would be to actually make them cameras that look good for humans. And maybe there's a channel they don't really use, like maybe the for the autopilot, it's just like, instead of RGB, it's just like, I don't know, RB and an infrared thing, but if we can get for humans, we can get normal color and higher resolution. and better positioning. And go ahead and record audio too, or like with my permission. Like Sentry mode should record audio. You know, you want to hear that, okay, a window got broken or something.
I'll admit I was surprised when I first got the car and first played with Sentry mode that it didn't record audio. I actually expected that it would. So the fact that it didn't was a surprise to me. But as far as, you know, higher resolution cameras and better placement, all that kind of stuff, well, Hardware 4, again, soon. You're going to get some of that. We'll see. We'll find out what the details are of that soon. Better placement. I don't know about that one. I'm not sure. We'll have to see with the new 3:2 camera and some other stuff if we get more. But unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get your nose camera yet. But in the future, maybe.
It just makes too much sense, apparently.
Yeah.
Then again, it might have been taken out from that accident. So
that's true. It would. That's the other thing to keep in mind is every time you add a sensor or camera or something, you've just increased how much expensive it is to repair and deal with even minor fender benders and things.
Yeah, I think the return on investment on that would be pretty high because you know, maybe you don't get in as many of those fender benders because the car can see them. You know, or you trying to park, you're not likely to hit your nose in a tight spot because you can actually see. Which the cameras and you can't see. So
I honestly complain, like I wish I had it for my garage every day. Like whenever I pull into my garage, I turn my head and I base it off of this like thing on the wall because that I can tell more accurately as I'm going by than how close am I looking at it in front of me. Because, you know, it's just the colors and the lighting and everything. It's like it's too hard to tell how close I am. Yeah, and the ultrasonics, I do not trust the ultrasonics to be accurate. Because I've had them randomly be like, "Oh, you're 25 inch. Oh, you're 14 inch. Oh, you're," and like they jump around a bit and you know other stuff, and it's just like, yeah, I wish I had a camera so I could actually see as I pull in. I'd feel a lot better.
Yeah, when I regularly parked in a garage, I also had like a mark on the wall that I lined up the B pillar to, and said, okay, that's it.
My wife is always like, "What are you doing?" Because if she's on the passenger side, so like I turn my head to the right, and she's like, "What are you doing?" As I'm pulling in. Lining the car.
That's right. Yeah. Proverbial tennis ball on the windshield.
Yeah. I need one of those tennis ball on a stick thing. No, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, you don't need to do that.
Well, that's unfortunate to hear, Doug, but I'm glad that you're okay and that your car is still drivable, and hopefully they can figure out what to do with the wrap. And Tesla, please give us better cameras. Give us more.
Yeah. So to close out on that, I don't know if someone can, you know, try a hand at reading that license plate. And I'll we'll have we have an unlisted link to the video on YouTube, and maybe you can see if you can see anything. And if you have some method, if you look at that and you think you have some method, maybe we can get the get the raw video and see if someone can lift that license plate. It would be nice. I mean, we'll see if it costs anything, or I don't know. I mean, it certainly isn't. I'm sorry, I didn't prepare photos of the damage, but you know, it's not great. And you know, if I can get it taken care of cheaply, I don't know if insurance will cover it. Probably not. But the fact, like, I would have talked to the guy and worked something out if he had chatted with me. And, you know, honestly, I'm assuming the guy was sitting there for 50 minutes or something, probably hot boxing or something, like right by the, you know, I would have worked it out. Like, okay, you don't want to get cops involved. Okay, but let's figure it out. The fact that he fled the scene, or fled the scene, I should say, you know, come on, dude, that's not cool.
I have to say, not to go too far on a tangent, I had a similar experience with somebody fleeing the scene on me when I was like early 20s. I was driving is when I lived in Pennsylvania, and somebody went through a stop sign basically on me. So like they pulled out on a road. It was like a single, you know, lane road. Speed limit was 55. I'm sure I was going too fast. I was probably going like 65 or something, but it was 55 speed limit, but it's all woods on each side. So, and then there's like random like side streets that come in. It's like a kind of like a back road highway-ish thing. And guy went right through the stop sign and pulled out in front of me and stopped. So they like, it was like literally they like pulled out and slammed on their brakes, blocking the middle of the road. And I was just like, ah! So I swerved to the right, hoping they would keep going so that I could go around them. And they didn't. They just stayed there. So I went right off the road into the trees to the point where my car was so stuck, like I had to get not a crane, but like they had to really like have trouble to tow it out. I was driving a Jeep Wrangler, so it could go off road a bit, but it was still wedged in there. And they basically sat there on the road while I crashed into the woods. And then like I eventually I was okay. I got out of the car, like I opened the door and I turned to look and I see the person. They see that I'm not dead and they just took off. And I'm just like, you asshole. So yeah, people like that are the worst.
Wait. So did you actually make contact with the other vehicle?
No, technically there was no contact. It's just he went through a stop sign and stopped in the middle of the road. So he caused the accident. But I don't know legally if he would have been liable for anything. But they literally just waited to see if I was dead. And then they just took off. So that like when the police came, I had to just tell them. And there was like, at first they're like, sure, buddy. Yeah, there was somebody there. Thankfully, there was some random person on the side of the road. Seriously, like this other person that like was walking. They saw the whole thing and they corroborated what I said. But neither one of us had the license plate. So again, this is, this was 15 years ago or whatever it was. But yeah, that was awful.
Well,
so yeah,
so he's got
exactly. I'm sure that's what he viewed it as. I didn't hit him, so there's no reason for him to stay. But yeah, it really pissed me off.
Well, while you're telling that story, I went ahead and to pull up some photo because I'm sure people are curious.
Excellent. Let's see the pictures.
Here's a picture. So yeah, so you see all the scraping here on the sort of point of the nose.
Sure.
So that white stuff, but also I got the other guy's paint. So this is this guy's paint, and
might buff off.
It'll wash off. Like the night of, it was dark and rainy. I took some photos, and this like big paint chip that would actually move under the water, So it was, but I left it because I wanted to get pictures in the daylight of their transference of paint.
Sure, that makes sense.
And this looks like it's more not so much his tail, but his side, because like in the video, you see that his car is two-tone, like his trunk and his hood are all black and his rear is sort of black, but the side is white. So this must be from his side. So I think he probably fared worse than I did.
That'd be poetic justice.
Yeah, but like this part right here, you can't actually see my, here, now you see my mouse. This part right here, I'm a little concerned about, not that looks great, but because seemed like a deep sort of scratch into the PPF, and it might be going through the PPF and through the wrap. And so that would be bad. So yeah, you can sort of see this.
Well, that's a hard scrape right there.
Yeah, so I don't know how deep it is. So that's my main thing.
Your poor baby.
Yeah, and so I probably won't even. I'll wash it, but there's dust and stuff too. But and this too. This was from scuffing the PPF, whatever's going on up here. You can see that right here. This is kind of a scrape into it also. So yeah, I'll probably go to an actual installer or whatever, and have them look at it before I'm not gonna do anything, because sometimes it's repairable. Sometimes they add heat or something to it and it clears up out or something. So all right, enough.
Enough of the pity party.
So let's see. So we got one last interesting Tesla news story. I don't know that it's news, but it's a story and it's about Tesla. They've started releasing some really cool videos for those that haven't seen, and just wanted to bring them up. They have some behind the scenes videos of showing things about like their heat pump, and there's like a bot video, and they do testing. So some of their winter testing stuff that they did. So we'll put some of those links in the description below, but I don't know, just wanted to, basically bring that up. And last but not least for today's episode, we have our lovely thread of the week. Alrighty, so thread of the week. There was a write-up by someone on the TMC forums about the Model 3, their opinion being that the Model 3 is better than the Model S.
Well, the Model 3P.
Okay, fair. The Model 3P better than the Model S, including their opinion on it being better than the what's it called? Even the Plaid.
What's it called? What do I drive again?
What do I drive again? What's that called? Yeah, including the Model S Plaid. So I have some. To me, there's some fighting words, but it was interesting. It was an interesting thread. The person's name is Phantasms, is the poster. Let's see if we can share the.
Yeah, I got it.
You got it. Okay. So here's the post. So FYI, my opinion is Model 3 is greater than Model S.
Well, and he makes the point. It's because of the cost. With the new pricing of the Model 3P, it's significantly cheaper than the Plaid.
I mean,
and he did a test drive with the Plaid. Okay, my first criticism is learn some paragraph breaks, but but I totally agree. As I drove a Miata for years, and that was a great car. And one of the things that was great about it was, people talk about power to weight ratio and all those kinds of figures of merit. My figure of merit was joy to cost ratio. And
it's high joy, low cost.
Yeah, I mean, I think I paid $2,500 for that car.
Oh wow!
And years later, I sold it for like $45K or something. I'm sorry, $4,500. And
$45K.
Yeah. $4,500, but I spent $2,500 on it, and that was a great car, and it lasted me for years, and especially in California with no rust, and
sure,
and that was just a great little car. And so right now, I mean, I don't remember exactly what I paid for my Model 3. I got the 2018 mid-range, right, and with autopilot and stuff, I don't remember exactly, but I think the total was over $60K. And to be able to pay $47 for performance, hey, that sounds great.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that when it comes to anything, when you're putting cost into the ratio, in the denominator, the cheaper it is, the more likely you are to win that argument. So if you're going based on how expensive it is and what you get for it, then yes, I would agree. The Model 3P is probably a great deal for that.
And
however,
so I would say I've driven the Model S, not the performance, but it does feel, someone coming from small cars, it does feel a bit like a boat to me.
Sure.
It is big. And I like even the Model 3 feels a little big to me, but it's at least more manageable. But some of his arguments, they feel like the kind of self-rationalization, these sort of things where, I'm just trying to increase my argument to myself, right? Like it's not an argument to convince somebody else, right? Because he says, oh, well, the screen in front, that's unnecessary, and just having a single center screen is better. I'm like, I'm sorry,
absolutely not.
when the times I've driven a Model S, I'm like, oh, this is so nice just to look straight ahead and see my speed without having to see it to the side. I mean, I'm used to it. But come on, it's definitely better.
I want to ask you to this. So I've driven a Model S, but it's an early vintage, 2015. And I compared it to my Model 3, which is a 2019. And I got to say my Model 3 rode better by a significant margin. Have they improved the ride in the new Model S's? Because the one I drove was pretty stiff. I mean, you can feel every bump on the road.
So yeah, I think it's definitely better than what it used to be. I mean, there's a lot of subjectiveness to the ride quality.
It would depend what you mean by ride, because the Model 3 just has springs, and it, for a lot of people, it's too stiff. I like it because it feels
I don't mind
sporty.
it at all, actually. Yeah.
But the Model S has air suspension options, and I've ridden in Model S's that actually make me feel a little ill because they're just so
a little floaty.
Yeah, they're so floaty, and you drive around, and I'm just like, I get a little motion sickness.
This one wasn't floaty, I can guarantee.
There's a lot of settings in the software you can adjust the suspension.
Interesting.
How it feels, how it drives.
So
ride height is going to factor in which tires you have, all that kind of stuff.
So if you want a smooth ride, if that's what you call a better ride, the Model S can definitely be much smoother than the 3.
Right.
I wonder if my father-in-law actually knows that about his car, because he just drives it. I mean, he doesn't play with the buttons. He's not technical. He's not a geek.
Sure.
He's a doctor. I mean, so
That's a
he
kind
just
of a
drives the car.
Different kind of geek.
Different kind of geek.
Yeah.
Indeed. If you want to talk kidneys, he'll talk your ear off about kidneys. But
yeah.
What else did this guy say that didn't make sense?
So there's a few interesting things. So, he commented on, like you said, that the center screen thing, where, like, you can just have the center console tablet view. You don't need the thing above, in the line of
he
sight.
didn't like that.
I completely disagree. That thing is amazing. They should put it in all the cars.
Why do you disagree so much? Because
you
I know why I do.
I mean, you shouldn't have to turn your head or like glance over to the right to try to see driving information, right? It's a distraction, honestly, versus I'm driving the car and I'm just looking ahead. And what's nice about that center screen is it even does navigation. So there's a small section where it'll show you your route planning and all that stuff. So like I literally never look to the center screen unless I'm dicking with the radio or something like that, which you shouldn't do. But I have FSD on, right? So it's fine.
And for so long with the Model 3, everyone was like, "Oh, Tesla's going to do like a HUD." A HUD, yeah. They have to, because they're definitely going to do that. Of course, they never did.
And it is disappointing for how expensive, for example, the Plaid is. Like other equivalent cars from other manufacturers in that price point, they have a HUD, right? So I think eventually they'll get there, but it is a little disappointing they're not there yet. But still, the interior, the ventless, all the other stuff in Tesla design is top notch. So I wouldn't trade it in for the other ones. So, but that was one thing. He mentioned the yoke. He said the yoke is too wide. I don't really have an opinion on that. I guess I like it's a freaking yoke, and I don't know. It feels comfortable when I hold it. I guess the only way I could have an opinion is if I like sat there and did that and then went back to the other one and went back and forth between them, and maybe you might prefer one versus the other.
I mean, it's a non-argument since the yoke is a option anyway.
That's true. You can do the steering wheel. We also complained about that the steering wheel on the S's that had the steering wheels are too wide as well. That the steering wheel on the S is too big. So I don't know. But let's see. He said that the 3 has a much smaller steering wheel, which feels sportier. So maybe that's true. That's kind of like a subjective. You got to compare them direct. He said the performance acceleration specs for the Performance 3 is about the same as the long range S. Sure. Like if you're going for performance, like the 3 probably feels better. It's a smaller car if you're comparing those two models. That is not a comparison of the Plaids. They're not even close in performance feeling. So anyway, that argument is fine. I don't fault him too much for that. If you're comparing those specific models, he said, it felt faster in the 3. Part of that could be, again, smaller
ride
car,
height,
things like that. Ride height is probably a big one. The S defaults to medium height. The 3 has a fixed height. It also, who knows, did you do lowering links? All kinds of things will affect that. Let's see, what else did he say? He said he didn't mind the buttons as much as he thought, like the yoke buttons, the haptic buttons. I don't mind them. So again, I mostly agree with him. I think physical buttons would be better. I feel like they would feel better, but the haptic buttons are okay. But let's see.
He talks about visibility. I feel like I have no rear visibility in the 3, so I'm not really sure what is.
It's tight. There's some visibility, but it's not the best I've ever been in.
He probably means going forward, right? He said he had to adjust his seat going up, so he probably means like visibility looking straight out the front.
Okay.
Which is like, well, that's going to affect your seat settings and other things, right? But like, I can't see how the 3 has more visibility. Again, smaller car maybe, but usually you claim that you have better visibility in a larger car, although it's usually a higher up car. But I don't know. But yeah, anyway, it was interesting, to read. He did say there were good things about it, but he said it drives like a big old man car. Sure, it's a big car. I agree, it is a big car. Fitting into parking and all those kind of things, suboptimal. Sure, I'm old, I get it, but I wouldn't consider myself an old man. Yeah, I mean, he talks about he's waiting on the Roadster.
I was going to say, he gives it away right there. He wants the Roadster.
Well, here's the thing that I find interesting.
But
I mean,
the Roadster is $250,000, right?
I was going to say, when the Roadster comes out, absolutely. Like, I love the Roadster too. And I didn't want to wait for the Roadster. That was a big part of why it's like the Plaid, because who knows when it'll come out. But the interesting thing was like, how can you sit there and be like, I'm waiting for the Roadster, meaning that you have the means that you're willing to spend $250,000 on a car, but then you're nitpicking saying the Model 3 because it's only 47K. Like if 250K is appropriate for you to buy a car for, then 47,000 to 100,000 that means nothing to you.
That's a rounding error.
That's a rounding error, right? So like anyway, so I found that argument a little strange, but
and remember what the Plaid is really. The Plaid is putting all the promises of the Roadster, and okay, it's going to take us a while to actually make a new car, putting all that stuff in the Model S. So the Model S has already hit, I think, all the original
most of
performance
the
milestones of the Roadster. Yes. Now you talk about feel, if it's in a smaller,
the Roadster will feel better.
Yeah. Yes.
It's going to feel sportier, of course. I used to have sports cars. I miss my sports car feel sometimes, for sure. The S is more practical from like a family sedan than a sports car. Has that power, though, over 1,000 horse in the Plaid. But anyway, I agree with some of what he says. I disagree with some other things he says. Primarily that screen. I feel like that screen is money, and they should put those in the 3s and the Ys and everything else, and everyone else would be happy about it too. I do not think it's like an outdated thing, or I
want a heads up. I'll take the heads up over a screen.
Well, yeah, sure. So would I, right? But it's like they don't even offer that in any car.
I mean, I've actually used my phone as a heads up because I've been desperate. I just. Anyways.
Well, I mean, heads up is a little bit gimmicky. The nice sort of relatively narrow dash right below the windshield is perfect, and I think what's in the Model S is great. So, speaking of the Roadster, there was a recent interview with Franz von Holzhausen on the Ride the Lightning podcast. And this was the second time they had Franz on there. And, I always find discussions with Franz a little bit like he talks, words come out of his mouth, but he doesn't actually say much. Like he never really commits to anything. And he just he talks in kind of designery words, and then basically
words.
Yeah, I'm making up words, but they're just sort of not very precise words, but words that don't have a lot of information.
Very ambiguous at best.
Yeah, and that's by design because he can't really say anything. And he was asked about the Roadster, and he basically said that their priorities, and this is, I think, the right priority is, wide scale electrification, and that Roadster is it's probably the least important vehicle that they have.
Would you call it a vanity project?
Well, it's nice to have a halo car. It's good to have something that shows off.
I thought that was
the
the
potential.
X.
Well, I mean, it used to be the original Roadster, and that was my concern. Like when the S came out and the S delays were happening, and then they stopped the Roadster. So they weren't selling the original Roadster, and people are still waiting for the S. I thought that was a disappointment. But I think that the original Roadster itself was hard to make money on, and that was just a difficult vehicle.
I thought the X with the Gulf.
I think we lost.
We lost. I thought I froze. It turned out to be.
I think we lost Mike there.
We lost Mike. Well, okay, yeah. I'll agree with them that the X with that vehicle was the vehicle that that didn't let's just go here for now. That's the vehicle that the kitchen sink went in, right? They just over designed it, put too many things into it. And that made it a kind of a halo vehicle. I think it still is probably the most expensive vehicle they have.
It's bounced a few times, but yes, it is. It's come back to. There was a weird brief moment where the S Plaids were more than the X Plaids, and I didn't understand why. But now I believe the X Plaids are most expensive again.
Yeah, but to get back to the Roadster, again, it's like, I want them to come out with it and everything, but man, does it really? I want something more along the lines of the Miata, which is based off of the Lotus Elan, a nice small Roadster, and something tossable, a ragtop, 2-seater, 100 miles of range would be fine, so the battery doesn't have to be too heavy. And I would love that. I would buy that in a heartbeat. for Miata prices.
You want a cheap roadster, is what you're saying.
Yeah. I want every man's roadster, a fun roadster, not $250,000. It's just, I don't know that I'd ever be able to justify that. It's kind of ridiculous. I mean, you can get the original roadster, which are still great cars. The ones that are still around, and you can get those for around 70 probably. So anyway, moving on, or maybe we should just wrap up.
that's it for today's episode. So thank you all for hanging out. Thanks for the comments and all that.
And
like
Mike
and
was liquidated, so
yeah. Mike was liquidated. Hopefully we'll hear from Mike again next week. Hey Mark in the chat, not former host Mark, but Mark from the factory in Fremont. So anyway, thanks for hanging out with us. As always, we love and appreciate your support. Like and subscribe if you can. Links will be in the description down below. As always, you can go to teslamotorsclub.com website, become a premium supporting member to support things. And thanks to Danny and Adam for helping behind the scenes and making this happen. And we'll see you next time. This was episode 33.
See ya.